You come home from a stressful day and feel like there's this giant weight hanging over you. You try to escape by picking up a controller or hopping on your PC for a quick gaming session. Then, 10 minutes later, it hits you. You're not actually having fun. The very thing you counted on to de-stress feels boring or more like another chore. But you paid good money for that console and library of games, so you keep playing out of obligation. And that's weird, right? Games are supposed to be fun, not some kind of duty. So what changed? Are games less enjoyable, or have we changed in a way that makes them harder to enjoy? What is fun anyway? Fun is something we all assume we understand, especially when talking about video games, but it can be surprisingly complex. When we say a game is fun, we might mean it's pleasurable, that it makes time fly, or that it sometimes puts us into a flow state where we forget about everything except the game itself. In that mental space, we're not thinking about ourselves or our performance. We're simply engaged in the activity. Fun is really just a positive reflection of an experience. It can be many different elements rolled into one. According to John Sharp and David Thomas in their book Fun, Taste, and Games, fun is a form of play where we step outside ordinary expectations like utility or efficiency. We enter a space where certain social or cultural rules don't matter as much. Video games often create half-real scenarios. We mimic real actions, driving a car or swinging a sword, but there aren't real-world consequences for what we do. It's like a grown-up version of kids playing pretend, only we're using controllers or keyboards instead of cardboard swords. Problems arise when we take games too seriously. We've all seen tempers flare mid-board game or heard about people smashing controllers in frustration. Sure, in competitive esports or high-level tournaments, there can be real-life consequences for winning or losing, but that's about competition, not the fictional character you're controlling. Unless you've literally joined something like a real-life Squid Game, which is hopefully not the case, the point is that games are half real and not meant to carry the full weight of reality. Different flavors of fun. We each find fun in different ways. Some love the social side, playing with friends, board games, role-playing sessions, or local multiplayer on the couch. Dungeons & Dragons is an excellent example of a social game. Everyone's got to commit to the imaginary world, track storylines, improvise in character, and generally play pretend together. That level of creative collaboration can be immensely satisfying. Others find fun in breaking games, like speedrunners who exploit glitches to set world records. Esports players elevate certain titles to a professional level, where fun becomes mixed with job-like dedication. Meanwhile, fans of challenging Souls-like games chase the satisfaction that comes after hours of painful grinding or brutally tough boss fights. Overcoming obstacles can be the ultimate thrill. For many of us, fun also comes from a sense of progress. Games have clear rules, fair feedback loops, and tangible rewards, unlike the messy real world where your efforts might not always translate to promotions or recognition. You see your character level up, earn new gear, and finally topple that end boss. It's a neatly packaged sense of accomplishment, and it feels good. Why real life feels less like a game. In reality, hard work doesn't always lead to fair payoffs. Your boss might get the glory and the bonus, while you just move on to the next assignment. Some people earn more in a single stock trade than you might see in a lifetime of hard work. In contrast, a game is a structured system where if you work at it, you'll almost certainly progress, hence the appeal. You level up, beat the final boss, and the credits roll. Wouldn't it be nice if life came with such clear objectives? What compels us to play? Some of us love an open-world sandbox where we can mess around, but without any real goals, many players get bored quickly. Often we need objectives, like missions in Grand Theft Auto, to keep us coming back. We know we truly like a game when we feel driven to boot it up again and again. It's about that subjective pull the game has on each of us. Whether it's the storyline, the challenge, the social aspect, or something else entirely, the specific formula that hooks us is deeply personal. Has fun changed, or have we? Plenty of people eventually find that gaming just doesn't hit the same as it used to. Maybe responsibilities distract you from ever reaching the flow state. Maybe you can't immerse yourself in a fantasy world like you once did. Or maybe you're so used to checking your phone every 2 minutes that you've forgotten how to lose yourself in a single screen experience. Some folks shift from playing games to watching others play on Twitch or YouTube, more passively connecting with gaming communities. This can still be entertaining, but it's not quite the same as diving in yourself. And while it might scratch a social itch, chatting in streams or on Discord, it's different from the days when you and your friends crowded around the same console after school. If you were drawn to gaming primarily for local multiplayer camaraderie, those experiences might be a distant memory. Even online, gaming communities have changed. Sure, there are big, vibrant ones, but they can be rife with trolls or negativity. If you're not feeling that sense of belonging or community, it can dampen your interest in gaming as a whole. Delay stagnation. Then there's the matter of so-called AAA games. These big-budget titles often stick to tried-and-true formulas to ensure commercial success, resulting in repetitive action-adventure games that can start to feel like you've played them all before. That lack of novelty can be a deal-breaker if you're the type who craves fresh experiences. Meanwhile, some gamers don't mind a comfort food approach, revisiting the same mechanics and story tropes. It really depends on whether you need novelty to stay engaged. Research shows that experiencing new things can boost our overall life satisfaction. So if AAA gaming isn't innovating, it might be losing its edge for people who need that sense of discovery. Too much dopamine, too little fun. Dopamine is our brain's reward chemical, and it's heavily involved in why video games feel fun. Anticipating a reward can spike dopamine, motivating us to keep playing. But if you do the same activity for hours on end, your brain tries to balance out that constant flood of dopamine by reducing your response to it, meaning the same game feels duller over time. You might then play even more, chasing that lost excitement, but your brain just keeps dampening the effect. Suddenly, not only are games less enjoyable, but other parts of life can feel less rewarding too. This problem gets worse with modern live service games. They want you logging in constantly, like a social media feed that never ends. You play one game for months or even years with frequent updates and microtransactions. It's a big shift from the old days where you'd beat a title, maybe revisit it, then move on to something new. Now, there's a major pressure to stay committed to a single game that's designed to consume your free time. The live service trap. Live service games often use free-to-play hooks, then monetize through microtransactions, season passes, or battle passes. Before you know it, you're spending money to keep your character's rank or aesthetic. Many are built on familiar and safe gameplay loops, routines that can quickly become stale if you need variety. Loot boxes introduce a gambling element, triggering high-octane dopamine rushes. Some places have banned them for resembling a casino, and the cycle of chasing those rewards can be relentless. The catch is you might keep playing, not because you love it, but because you've invested time and possibly money into your character, your social group, or a subscription. You feel obligated, and that's where fun starts to slip away. It feels more like an addiction than a hobby. Finding fun again. So, is there any hope? Absolutely. I'm living proof. I've been gaming for decades and I still find it incredibly fun. The key for me was to walk away from the experiences that felt like obligations. Anytime a game made me feel pressured, like I had to play nightly or risk losing my rank, I knew it was sucking the joy out of it. I left those titles behind. Now I experiment with different genres and indie games. I also look for bigger titles that dare to break from the mold. And I still love many Nintendo games because they rarely adopt the manipulative tactics of some modern titles. By mixing things up, I protect my excitement for gaming and keep my dopamine response from burning out. Taking a break. Sometimes the best move is to take a step back entirely. Put the controller down for a while. Spend more time on other hobbies or outdoors. Give your brain a chance to recalibrate so you can come back fresh. If after that break, gaming still doesn't do it for you, then maybe it's time to move on, or at least redefine what fun means for you right now. Brings to mind that old saying, if you love something, set it free. If it comes back, it's yours. If it doesn't, it never was. Yes, it can sound cheesy, but it applies here. Letting video games go for a bit can help you see if you truly miss them. If the passion returns, fantastic. Welcome back to the world of gaming. If not, that's okay too. People change, and so do our definitions of fun. The important thing is to do what genuinely brings you joy, not what you feel forced to do. Gaming is supposed to be play, after all. So if it's not playful or pleasurable anymore, it's worth reevaluating.